the APS and the AGSV, the two Victorian private school systems, occupy about 20% of the total talent playing pool within the AFL. Of that 20%, 130 are former APS players. On today's Talent Talk Tuesday, Director of Football at Caulfield, Barry Rowlings. Born and raised in the heart of potato country Thorpedale and Gippsland, Barry started his career in the Thorpedale Juniors before moving on to the Moe Lions. One fateful night at the age of 24, Tom Hafey would come down to training and identify Barry's talent before inviting him down to trial at Richmond Football Club. But living in the Hawthorn zone, Hawthorn Football Club would then sign Barry Rowlings to a contract. After 4 years, including a Premiership in 1976, Barry Rowlings was then sold to the Richmond Football Club. Winning the Jack Dyer Medal in 1979, he would win a Premiership in 1980 and captain the club from 1983 to 1986 before hanging up the boots at 36 years of age. Following his career, he joined Caulfield Grammar and to this day has been the Director of Football for 25 years. Welcome Barry Rowlings to Talent Talk Tuesday. Hello and welcome to Talent Talk Tuesday. On today's episode, we're going to speak to Barry Rowlings, who has a background in the APS football, as well as a former Hawthorn and Richmond Premiership player. So welcome Baz, to Talent Talk Tuesday.
No worries, Brendan. Great to be here, mate.
Yep. So we're going to get straight into the interview. So I'm going to start off with, if you could tell us a little bit about your journey, not only as head of football of Caulfield Grammar, but from your junior days all the way through playing for Hawthorn, then moving across to Richmond, becoming a captain of the Richmond Tigers, into how you became the head of football and worked your way into Caulfield Grammar and in APS.
No worries, Brendan, but when I first started football, I came from a little town called Thorpedale up in the country, up in Gippsland, potato country. And I used to have a football in my hand probably ever since I was probably about 2 or 3, but we never played junior football there, Brendan, till we were aged probably about 13. They started up an under 15 competition, and when I started I was 13, so I played 3 years in the thirds, Thorpedale thirds up there, where a lot of kids these days with Auskick and Big Kick, which we never had anything like that, probably would have played 150, 200 games already. But at 13, I started with the Thorpedale thirds. We won our first flag against Peter Welsh. I used to, when I played at Hawthorn and Richmond, we beat Worcester's side 11-12 to a point, our first grand final. Then the next year we played Newborough, which are a big, bustling, rural, probably 55 kilo ringing wet all of our side, and we ended up beating them 2-6 to 2-5. And next year they got big and we got smaller, and they belted us, and then we going for the hat trick. But after playing 3 years I was 16 years of age, I got my opportunity to play seconds football for Thorpedale, and I ended up winning the league best and fairest at 16 years of age and the seconds. Then through that year I had probably 4 or 5 senior games with the Thorpedale seniors, which was tremendous excitement, especially on the day I played, where we played this side called the Lawn North, and they were the Bombers, and they were big, strong, powerful blokes. And lucky Thorpedale selectors put me on the wing so I could get away from them pretty quick. So, but we played 3 or 4 games for Thorpedale on the wing in the seniors. The following year, I had an approach from a Latrobe Valley side called Your Lawn. So I did all the pre-season with Your Lawn, and I played 3 or 4 games on permit with Your Lawn at 17 years of age. Then on the last game, they ended up making the grand final, and they could have played me, but they played another young bloke, and they got beaten in the grand final. And prior to that, Moe said, well, they weren't going to play it. Would you like to come and play for Moe? So I ended up playing for Moe in the seniors, and did reasonably well. And they said, would you like to come and play for Moe? I said, well, yeah, why not? As I said, I was only 17, 18 at that stage, just got my licence, and ended up going playing for Moe in the Latrobe Valley League. And you wouldn't believe it, Brendan, and there were 3 premierships we're in, 70, 72, 73, 74, we got beaten in every one of them. Point, 2 points, 1 point. So that was pretty ordinary. So in 1974, before our grand final, Tommy Hafey took us to training. And when you see I was probably my fittest then. I played 6 permit games when I was 19 with Hawthorn, but they weren't real interested. So I went back to the bush. And Tommy Hafey took us before our 74 grand final training. I trained on the Thursday night. We played on the Saturday. And as again, I told you, we got beaten by a point. I got a letter, and I still got the letter in my scrapbook. Tommy wrote me a letter on the Monday and said, would you like to come and train with Richmond lead up to the 1974 final series? So I travelled down every Tuesday, Thursday, watched them on the Saturday. So 2 hours down, 2 hours home, which is a bit better these days, but only about an hour and a half. So I went down every Tuesday, Thursday, trained with the likes of Royce Hart and Sheedy and Burke. And I thought, how good's this? I was 24 years of age. And after doing that, they said, would you like to, they won the Premiership. They gave me tickets to the grand final. They won the Premiership, the Tigers. And they said, would you like to come and do pre-season with us, which started in November, which I did all the pre-season. Got to the last training session, and Alan Swab, who was head of Richmond then, would like to put a clearance form in to get you, which I zoned to Hawthorn, and I'd like to get you across from Hawthorn. So they put in a clearance form. And John Kennedy said, in the selections at Hawthorn, said, we'd like to see you play in 1 practice match before we clear you. Anyway, we played against our other zone in the Latrobe Valley League was Footscray. Anyway, I played on a bloke who I know pretty well. His name was Ian Morrison, who played for Essendon. And I played a game that day, and Morrow tells me the story now. He said, when I fronted up on him that day, he said, God, look at this little weed. Am I going to have a field day this day? Anyway, I come off the ground, and the Hawks won. I got a fair few kicks, and John Kennedy said, well, if you want to play league football, you're going to play at Hawthorn. You won't be going anywhere else. So that's when I started doing, like I said, about doing pre-season. So I travelled down for all that year, actually 3 years all up, every 2 hours, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday with a bloke named Len Petch. Petch, he used to come from Yarrigan. He was a big ruckman, and we used to go down Tuesday, Thursdays. I played the first 6 in the reserves, and my first game at the Hawks was announced that Peter Crimmins had testicle cancer, and Crimo, that would be his last game before he started treatment. Anyway, I played on a wing, a boy named Shepherd against Fitzroy at Princes Park, and got a few kicks, and that was my first game. And Crimo, as I say, they announced that he wouldn't be playing anymore till he had the cancer treatment, the chemotherapy. Anyway, I ended up being second rover to Lee Matthews, because Crimo was first and Lee second. The only trouble is, boys, I used to sit in the forward pocket probably about 20% of the game, and Lethal used to be at 80. He'd come back and sit in the pocket and kick 6, and I'll be on the ball. So imagine what sort of great player he was. But yeah, to play with, and Crimo in that 75 grand final side. Rhonda and I stayed with Pete and Gwen prior to the grand final, and because Crimo was still having treatment, played a couple of games in the seconds, come back and get about 22 possessions in reserves, and everyone thought he might have been a chance to play in the side. I still believe this day, if he'd been in the side, just sitting on the bench, we would have got everybody up. We had a couple of boys, Michael Cookie kicked about 5 in the second semi. A boy named Shane Murphy played on a half-forward flank. They left him in for the grand final, and the 2 boys who I mentioned didn't do real well. We felt like Crimo. I know we got beaten pretty easy by North, but Crimo just would have been that icing on the cake, we believe, anyway. But yeah, so that was 75. 76 was, turned out a lot better year after winning the Premiership. And Crimo was, again, you've probably seen a couple of the pictures in the paper where 4 or 5 of us went back about 2 o'clock in the morning. Here he is still sitting up, and he passed away on the Tuesday. But no, he was a sensational little bloke. He was just so gutsy, and he gave a fair bit of lip, like most young or small blokes do on the field. Gave a fair bit of lip, but he was just a tremendous little player and a tremendous little bloke to have around. And so yeah, 76. But one little story there. My Channel 7 used to give a best on the ground. John Henry, they go best on the ground. He got a trip to Nemea, 3AW gave me best on the ground. My wife is a bit annoyed about this. I got 6 pewter mugs. So, so she wasn't really wrapped in that. So 77 wasn't a bad year. 78, I started off the season pretty well. I did my knee in July, and they put in a cast for 6 weeks to see if it would come right. Played in the reserves this day to see if it would come right and try and get back before the finals. Anyway, I was in the seconds. I had about 8 possessions in about the first few minutes, and I thought, how good's this? One of my teammates handballed it to me. I turned, put pressure on the knee, just folded with underneath me. I ended up going in for a 75% knee reconstruction. John Bartlett, who did Peter Dacos at that stage, at a Ringel Hospital in Heidelberg. And then did all the pre-season that year, got right. Hawthorn won the Premiership in 78, so I missed that one. So in fourth game in 79, they called me in after we were training that night with Peter Welsh, John Hendry, a few players had been dropped from the seniors. This was on the Monday. Anyway, we get to the last bit of the training session. Here's Ian Wilson, the president of the Richmond Football Club, watching training, and everyone was thinking, who's he looking at, and so forth. As I'm walking off the field, Dave Parkin puts a finger up. And, Barry would like to have a talk to you. We go in the room. It's about six selectors, and Dave Parkin and one selector got up and said, "Look, Barry, you're 28 years of age. We've got Terry Wallace, Russo, all these young blokes coming up. You're 28. We believe you only got 12 months left in your knee. We're going to sell you off to Richmond." This happened on the Monday night. They sold me off on Tuesday morning. I trained with Richmond on the Tuesday and the Thursday. They put me in the senior side. Guess who we played? Hawthorn. So I was playing against, wasn't playing with Lethal. I was playing against him, Don Scott. And, we had a pretty good day, the Tigers. But after that was settled down. I missed the first 4 in that season, 79, and I ended up winning Richmond's best and fairest. So I was pretty lucky, and the great mob of boys we had at Richmond, and the friendships we have made over, like Roachy and Rainsy and KB. And so 81, 1980, ended up making the grand final, and you wouldn't believe it, didn't play any of the finals. I had a knee operation the first final, I had a cartilage removed, which was 4 weeks, and they told me to take a week off work. I was still living in Gippsland, week off work. So I came down, did rehab for a week, got back, and they put me into the grand final side. I was very, very lucky. Looked like a lot of the boys played really well in the final series, and I was very, very lucky to get in. But, got in the side. Actually, KB handball one to me. He kicked 7. He handball one to me. Should have kicked 8 and broken the record. Broken the record. So, I had a tremendous time at the Tigers. Again, 82 we should have won. We belted Carlton at the Waverley Park, and I tagged Rod Ashman that day at VFL Park in the second semi and did reasonably well. And in the grand final, it rained early. They kicked 2 or 3 quick goals. We ended up getting beaten by that amount, and I tagged Ashy again, and Carlton tagged me with Rod Austin, so the 3 of us running around together. So I had the opportunity. They 83, 84, they made me captain, which was great. 85, 86, and then I got a kick in the kidneys later in the game. I was 36 years of age, and I thought, young family, I'd toss it in and, hopefully give someone else a go, and end up working for Richmond for another 4 years.
Oh, wow. So from finishing up there and working at Richmond, how did you then get into Caulfield and the APS system?
Yeah, what had happened, I went down Collingwood. I thought if I was ever going to get into coaching, Jeff, I would have been had to learn something. So Collingwood approached me about being skills. They won the Premiership in 90, so I went there in 91. They appointed me skills coach, reserves runner, match committee. So I sort of spent a couple of years under lead to learn. Anyway, I spent 2 years under there, and really 90, after they win in the grand final in 90, Collingwood, they weren't keen, they weren't hunger for 91, really, 92. So after 2 years there, Hawthorn approached me about being their reserves coach with Peter Knights. And I was there for 2 years, and they weren't flash years, but Knightsy again didn't have the cattle underneath him. So Knightsy went, so I decided he was a pretty good bloke. I thought a very good coach, Knightsy, and so I thought that's enough for me. Anyway, my young bloke Jay was going to Caulfield Grammar, and I had a phone call from Phil DeYoung, Stephen Newton, regarding doing the director of football at Caulfield Grammar School. And that was a week later, they said, have a think about it. Then I got a call from VFL House, and Kevin Sheehan approached me about being the Dandenong Stingrays football coach. I went there at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday, and they said, we'll let you know in 24 hours about the job. They let me know in 3 hours, not 24 hours. They said, you've got the job. But then rang Phil DeYoung from Caulfield Grammar, and with Jay going there, and what I liked about developing young kids, not only Stingrays, but junior kids from year 7 right through. I thought it was a perfect opportunity to get involved. And Chris Judd was in the first year with Jay. They had a great side, Benny Carboni, Spiro Argyros. They had a great, really good side. So I just decided to feel I'd like to accept the Caulfield job, and it's about 25 years down the track, Jeff, and I'm still there. So, but that's how I got involved, and I've loved every minute of it. They've been tremendous people, great kids, and met a lot of good footballers on the way.
Seems you're part of the furniture there now, Baz. So, in your last 25 years as head of football at Caulfield Grammar, can you tell us what you feel have been the major changes in the development of APS football, in particular the last decade?
I just think with the coaching side of it, not propping up our group, I know we have got a sensational coaching group. In Anthony Phillips, our senior coach, Jake Foley's assistant, and the one and only Brendan Scott is our analysis, computer man, reserves coach. It's just the people in Steve Lester, our strength and conditioning. We've got a great group of coaches, and I believe it has changed in that, Brendan, in their ways that a lot of the schools have gone a lot with getting a lot of better coaches, because they're getting a lot of good young boys coming through the schools, not only just for the schooling, but also the football. They can see how the football go there. And what makes it a lot better too, I believe, is the kids that are going to school right throughout the week together. They train together on a Tuesday, Thursday night. They play over Saturday. They get to school Monday talking about football. And and again, you can relate to this, Brendan, the culture we've got around the school at the moment, which has improved. The coaching's improved just 100% over the years. I just believe our football, the way they've been played at the moment, the coaching, what we have got in stock at the moment, is just producing better players. And it's no lane work, handball for a start and so forth. It's just continuous, a lot of craft work going on before training, and trying to progress these kids as good as we can. My philosophy was when I first went to school, if we can get the kids, but as soon as they arrive at Caulfield Grammar in year 7, if we can make them a better player at year 12 going out of the school, I reckon that's a great thing.
Yep. So you reckon probably over the last 5 to 10 years, it's developed into more of a holistic approach and emphasis on culture throughout all the school systems?
Oh, definitely. And I know, for instance, it's little things that happen around suburban clubs, AFL clubs and so forth. Just little things like Will Phillips and our leadership group this year, Zab Maher, Bailey, Laurie, these and all other boys, like we treat them all as like captains, because if they see one to do anything wrong, they'll pull them into gear. They have a bit of fun before training, but they pull them into gear. But the culture, just for instance, like Richmond and Ivan Marrick, Trent Cotchin cleaned up the rooms before we leave, clean the dishes after their meals when they finish after our games and so forth. But language, which I really hone in on, any language, we try and nip that straight in the bud, but I never have any issues. But yeah, just with our football camps and the whole setup has just changed so much, and for the better.
And I'll add one of your main rules that's really entrenched in the Caulfield program over the past 2 decades is clean your boots.
That's one thing I like. I always had a coach, Brendan, and I used to be that pedantic when I used to clean. My mum used to start when we first started, then I continued what mum showed me. I used to have the black boots and we used to have the white laces, and I used to do the white, have this white product that I put in the white laces to make them look white. And whether it helped with a few votes of the umpires or not, I don't know, Brenda. But as I said to the boys, go out looking like a footballer, your socks up, jumper tucked in, look like a footballer, and prepare yourself properly. And if you're keen and really want to go ahead, as I said to the boys all the time, I was 24 years of age, and a lot of you boys have got more potential than I have. Just make sure you work hard. You just never know. As again, 24, I was 24. You never know when you get the opportunity.
In saying that, how could you compare the relationship that you have, obviously, with the private school system at Caulfield Grammar? How could you compare that with players going through the system at NAB League? What's the difference between both?
As I said before, Brendan, the way the kids, all the boys go to school, mainly school. Now we've got two campuses, Wheelershill and Caulfield campus. We get together all the time. With the NAB Cup, sure enough for the metropolitan side, but I feel so sorry for the kids that say the Bush Rangers, Gippsland Power, Pioneers, Ballarat, Geelong, the amount of travelling those boys have to do. Yeah. And as I said, it's, you work it out, how many hours in the car they do, the study they miss out on. And I always tell the boys, I don't know, I don't care who it is, from year 7 right through the, you're there, you love to play football for 40 years. And I think a lot of boys think they are going to play football for 40 years, but it's not what the average age of years, 2 to 3, 4 years player lasts these years. I know some come on and play 300 or 400 games, but the minority miss out. And I believe a lot of the country boys, again, miss out in their studies. You miss out in your studies, you don't make league level. What happens? You've got to have plan B. I tell them always, you've got plan A, yeah, love to play AFL. You've got to have plan B. Exactly. Sure, you've got to have a great family. You've got to have your friends. You've got to make sure your school is updated. Then you're thinking of football, because it's most important these days to, when you finish football, you just never know how many boys have missed out playing football with bad injuries. Like they're giving up football with bad injuries and concussions and so forth. So it's most important that, but yeah, with the countryside, I just feel so sorry for them, because it's just so far away, and they're not together. They're there together. It's not a real club atmosphere like the school, the APS.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And from us being involved in the metro system, it's kind of easier for the kids to get together. But as you said, if you're from Geelong or the Bush Rangers, where they live 2 hours apart from one another, it's almost impossible to get that camaraderie together.
Exactly right. Yeah, because as I say, it's and the amount of hours the mum and dad's put in, which is tremendous. Yeah. They can see the sons are keen, which they do, and even the metropolitan. I know a lot of the dads and mums are always in the car, taking them to training, taking them to the pre-season camps and so forth. But it is essential, they're in and they do the training, and home they go for another 2 or 3 hours. It's just very hard on them.
Yeah. So I'd like to discuss about your relationship that you have as being in charge of football at Caulfield with AFL clubs and managers and recruiters. What kind of, what kind of discussions do you have about players that are coming through, and what kind of questions do the clubs like to ask you about the players?
It's mainly the attitude, the way they present themselves at school, the way they play the game. Are they team players? What do they like at home? Do they assist mum and dad at home? They'll even go, which you and Brendan know, they go to the teachers, they go to their junior clubs just to make sure. And so all the recruiting blokes, I have a fair bit to do. Simon Dalrymple's one of the main ones who ring me, Will Thursfield from Richmond, Cameron Joyce, North Melbourne. You get them all ringing you all the time, just checking out what they're like, and can they improve, where they can improve, what their weaknesses are. And you've got to be up honest. I tell the boys when we do pre-season camp, I'll put your name up, and as long as you don't let me down. And number one, I won't tell them a lie, because they'll never ring me again. If they find out that I've told them a lie, that just to get this boy over the line, they'll never ring me again. But yeah, a lot of the recruiting blokes, a couple from Gold Coast Suns, George. We're having Leon Harris, Brisbane. Mork's always bringing me up, but all over, yeah, they're all pretty keen and just want to get the best possible player for their clubs because it's most important these days.
Yeah. So, Barry, speaking of best talent, what's some of the best talent you've seen come through at Caulfield and the APS in general?
Caulfield would have to be Juddy on the first year. I remember Jeffy was, and the other one is he's moulded into a Judd is Will Phillips. You talk about leadership, the way they carry themselves. I remember even both Will and Juddy at year 7 level. They could have played the whole field. You know, they could have bounced the ball. They could have kicked 10, 20 goals. But the way they feed off to their the teammates, and some of the poor kids are there. They haven't got a lot football knowledge about them, but they spring them into play. And not only that, I've gone and played Vic Country, Vic Metro. The other boys like another Dave Asprey, a boarder, which is a tremendous job coming down from the bush to be a boarder and to be 2 Premiership medallions now. Dave, great. Jack Zeebel's another one. And what I like about all these boys, which I've mentioned, the 2 Phillips boys, Tom and Ed, just great people. And like I'll get on the phone call to them and say, well, Brendan might need, like Brendan knows when we did the online sessions, Simon Dalrymple, like the Phillips boys. All you all have to do is ring them and they'd be on the phone. What can I do for you, Barry? Always looking. But yeah, the Judds, Zeebels, Aspreys, Dylan Shield. Dylan's still got a little bit way to go to be up amongst those top liners. We've been at Essendon now, but the Callaways were a bit just before I got there. The Callaway boys, Tiger boys, but they're just sensational boys. And again, well, that's one thing we try and instill into them before they go and make AFL, to make them sure they're good people before they arrive there. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's always the main thing that we like to drive in any clubs that we're involved with is we want them to be great people first and then good footballers second. So I love that, Barry. So, Barry, just on this year's talent at Caulfield, could you let us know who's coming through the system and what names we should watch out for this year's draft?
Yeah, Will, again, I mentioned him before, Will Phillips, great attitude. As you and Brendan know what he's like. He's just an ultimate professional. When you get a boy that's captain of the school and captain of the footy side, which is just recently appointed, captain of the footy school, he's just a great boy. All I have to do, Jeff, is one text message about pre-season training. Brendan will be the same. One text message and say, the boy will be at the Botanical Gardens on November the 5th at 10 a.m. I'll have 55 boys there, and that's with Will Phillips, which is great. So I reckon he'd be well up there, Will. I reckon top 5. Bailey Laurie's come in at, he's been there 3 years, 10, 11 and 12. He's developed into a real good boy, real pressure. His skills getting better. And again, another Oakley Chargers boy and great attitude. Worked really hard. Him and Will with Steve Lester with strength and conditioning. He's been great. Xavier Marr, I believe he's worked his butt off. His body's really changed now and worked his butt off over last summer. Another boy, a lot of boys wouldn't have heard of him. There's Harry Sharp. He's a Ballarat boy, and he's a boy that's got great athletic ability. I rang him up the other night and I said, how you training, Harry? Yeah, he's pretty good. Just been around Wendouree Lake. And I said, oh, that's good. How far is that, 6K? And I said, oh, that's good. He said, I went three times. So then he got his mates up in the pre-season training and he's got a couple of mates, must be mad runners like him, and they got the bush up behind Sharpie's place, and 23K one day, Jeff. So that's another one. Harry Sharp, he'd be elite runner. And the other boy who I've mentioned to Brendan a couple of times, he's a bit of a scallywag, but I think he'll get his head right. I've had a couple of talks with him. His name's Ethan Warburton. He's from Shepparton Swans. Yep. I believe he's a chance. He's played in our practice matches and really blitzed them in the half back and running off half back. Good body, good athletic ability. And I just believe he could be a really dark horse. Maybe not next year. Maybe if the NAB go to a 19-year-old, it could be a chance. It could be a chance next year.
Yeah, definitely. we know 3 of those boys personally, and you're 100% correct. Their attitude and the way they go about it is second to none. So, yeah, you've done well with them. And my last question is, so Barry, who's the best player you've seen at your time in Caulfield who's never actually made it to an AFL list?
Yeah, one boy comes to mind, Jeff, is one boy named Theo Thompson. We've got our Theo Thompson. We've got a building named after his granddad, Lindsay Thompson, over at that Caulfield campus. He would be, like a Will Phillips, Juddy would be the most polite boy you ever set your eyes on. You know what I mean? He's a boy, when I used to strap his ankle, please, Barry, do you mind if you could strap my ankles? And he's so polite. But when he went there over that white line, he was just a sensational, really hard player. Captain Vic Metro. I think he might have captained Dragons. He captained our school. And he was just a tremendous player. But cut down with injuries. Didn't help him at all. And another boy named, probably his pace held him back a bit, was another boy named Cade Ainsworth. Noah's older brother. He's playing Brisbane at the moment. Cade could have probably a little bit more pace, but just a ball magnet. Yeah, ball magnet. Just used to get it all the time. And I thought he would have been just picked up as still only 23 at the moment, actually. And I just thought as a rookie, player for the future and just a fill-in top-up player, you just never know. And a couple of the players that really I thought might have got picked up, but just never.
Before we finish off with one last question, Baz, there's probably 2 players you forgot about, the Caulfield Grammar potential draftees for 2020. One's Deacon Smith, who's a Melbourne Next Generation Academy player, and the other one, I know he'd probably be disappointed you forgot about him, but that's Elijah Hollins, and he's projected as a top 3 pick in 2020. What can you tell us about Elijah? Yeah,
Elijah's been our Year 12 last year. He's a very exciting player. Did his knee. He's come back and is really training hard. And he's got a bit of life about him, Elijah. And I just think he could be anything. There's one thing with doing his knee, Brendan, I think would have given him the opportunity to build up his upper body and get a lot stronger, which he'll need to against AFL players these days. And you just never know where he could get picked up. I know he's an Adelaide supporter, so I don't know how he got this out. I think he was born in Adelaide, but he's always stuck by him. But he'd be a great, exciting player when he's up and running. Yes.
The last question for today, with the experience you have in the APS system over the past 25 years, outside the Caulfield bubble, there's been a lot of talent that's come through the system. Has there been any players that you've been in awe with or envy the talent that's come through at another school?
Yeah, you're probably first of all is probably looking at this recently, not right back, but probably like an Andrew Gaff at Carey. Just recently, you got Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell, which just are really, really good footballers. Carey again. I already mentioned our boys. I'm pretty biased, but with our boys. But Noah, Matty Rowell. Then you've got Salem, your boy, on a halfback flank at Melbourne. Brendan, very polished and in a good side. I know he's very good at it. He delivers the ball, but in APS football, he was just tremendous the way he used to deliver the football. And that'd be maybe the main ones, but you could go right through them. A couple of boys probably never ever went on to. There's a couple of Bowens from their Xavier College. But the King boys, another 2 King boys, they were just mountains against us. I remember the day out at the new ground out at Harleby, they played against us. They were just mountain of men out there. But like some Paulson and these type of boys getting the opportunity, not very big boys, but have got the opportunity in playing Carlton, which is good.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time today, Baz. Your knowledge and experience has been really insightful, not only for myself and Greg, but for all the viewers that are tuning into this episode. And to be able to share your story and your journey throughout a pathway system and onto the elite level at the Hawthorn Football Club, and then moving on to the Richmond Football Club and playing in a Premiership and becoming the captain of Richmond is something that demonstrates a lot of grit and determination through your journey as an elite footballer. On a personal note, I'd like to acknowledge that the influence you've had over me over the last 10 years working with you at Caulfield Grammar, but the influence that you have not only as Caulfield, but the entire APS community. I think everyone's better for knowing you. So thank you for your time today. It's been great.
No worries, Brendan, and I'd like to thank you two boys for your questions. And again, you're doing a great job. I've been checking in on your links, and it's just interesting. It's just great to listen to someone telling what's happening about in AFL and NAB Cup, APS. It's just great viewing. So really appreciate it, and good luck in the future with it.
Thanks, Baz.